It was a gray afternoon, the kind of day where the sky looked heavy with unspoken sadness. Marcus, a middle-aged rideshare driver, sat in his car at the edge of a busy city street. He had been driving since dawn, just trying to make enough to pay rent and send a little money to his sister, who was raising her children after their parents passed. His old sedan rattled every time he hit a bump, but it was all he had. Marcus had known struggle his entire life. He was the kind of man people overlooked, tall, quiet, with deep eyes that carried stories of hardship most never bothered to ask about. He had worked odd jobs, been laid off too many times, and now drove 12 hours a day just to keep the lights on. Every night, he whispered to himself, just one more ride, one more day. Don't give up. That afternoon, as he considered ending his shift, a ride request popped up. The pickup address was a few blocks away, near a run-down convenience store. He sighed, started the car, and drove toward it. When he arrived, he saw a young woman outside the store, pacing frantically. Her clothes looked worn, her hair disheveled, and in her arms she clutched a little boy, maybe 6 or 7 years old, who was pale and whimpering softly. Marcus rolled down his window. You the ride for Emily? Her head snapped toward him, tears streaming down her cheeks. Yes. Please, we need to get to St. Mary's Hospital. It's urgent. Without hesitation, Marcus jumped out, opened the back door, and helped her in as gently as he could. The little boy was burning up with fever, sweat rolling down his tiny forehead. Marcus got behind the wheel. Hang on. We'll get there. As he sped through traffic, Emily tried to comfort her son, whispering, It's going to be okay, baby. Mommy's here. But her voice cracked with fear. Marcus glanced at her in the rearview mirror. How long's he been like this? Since last night, she replied, choking back a sob. I thought it was just the flu, but it's getting worse. I don't have a car, and the buses are so slow. I didn't know what else to do. Marcus pressed harder on the gas. He wove through traffic, ignoring the angry honks behind him. Don't worry. We'll make it. But as they hit a stretch of highway, the little boy's eyes began to flutter. His breathing grew shallow. Emily panicked, shaking him gently. Stay with me, Noah. Please, stay with me. Marcus's heart pounded. Memories of his nephew, who had once been rushed to the hospital with asthma, came flooding back. He knew that helpless terror all too well. He clenched the steering wheel tighter, whispering to himself, come on, don't let this kid slip away. Then, the traffic ahead came to a standstill. A line of red brake lights stretched endlessly. An accident blocked the road. Marcus cursed under his breath. Emily began to sob. We'll never make it in time. Marcus made a decision. Without a second thought, he swerved onto the shoulder, his car bumping along uneven pavement. Drivers yelled at him, some even rolled down windows to curse, but he didn't care. He leaned on the horn, flashing his lights, weaving around obstacles until he finally burst free of the gridlock. Emily clutched her son tighter, whispering prayers through her tears. When they reached the hospital entrance, Marcus screeched to a stop. He leapt out, scooped the boy into his arms without waiting, and ran inside with Emily by his side. We need help, he shouted. Nurses rushed forward, whisking the child into the emergency ward. Emily collapsed into a chair, her hands trembling. Marcus placed a hand on her shoulder. He's in good hands now. She looked up at him with red, swollen eyes. You didn't have to do all that. You risked everything, for strangers. Marcus shook his head. No one's a stranger when a kid's life is on the line. Hours passed in the waiting room. Marcus stayed, even though he had no reason to. He bought Emily a bottle of water, sat quietly beside her, and reassured her when she broke down. Finally, a doctor emerged. Your son is stable. He had a severe infection, but you got him here just in time. Emily wept with relief. She turned to Marcus, hugging him tightly. I'll never forget what you did. Marcus smiled faintly. Just glad he's okay. He slipped away soon after, not wanting to intrude further. He returned to his old car, exhaustion weighing on him. He didn't know that Emily had been watching him leave. What Marcus never realized was that Emily wasn't just any struggling mother. She was the daughter of a wealthy businessman, but after a falling out with her family, she had been living on her own, determined to prove she could raise her son without help. Yet in her moment of greatest need, it was Marcus, a man with almost nothing, who had been there for her. The next morning, Marcus woke up to his phone buzzing. He had dozens of missed calls and messages. Confused, he turned on the TV, and there it was, his face. The local news was running a story. Rideshare driver risks everything to save child. Someone at the hospital had recorded his desperate dash inside, carrying Noah in his arms. Emily had spoken on camera, her voice filled with gratitude. He's the reason my son is alive. He didn't just drive us, he gave us hope when I had none. The world needs more people like him. By that evening, Marcus's rideshare app crashed under the weight of hundreds of donations sent to him by strangers. Emily's father himself reached out, visiting Marcus to thank him personally. You saved my grandson. If you ever need anything, anything at all, you have my word, we'll be there. But Marcus, humble as ever, simply said, just keep being there for your daughter and grandson. That's all the thanks I need. Still, life changed for him. A new job offer came. His debts disappeared thanks to the donations. And for the first time in years, Marcus allowed himself to dream again. Sometimes, the greatest acts of kindness come not from those with the most to give, but from those who know what it feels like to have nothing. And in helping one frightened mother and her sick child, Marcus discovered that his own life was not defined by struggle, but by the love and courage he carried in his heart. So remember, kindness has a way of finding its way back to us when we least expect it. If this story touched your heart, consider subscribing for more stories that remind us of the power of compassion.